Have you ever heard about the psychiatrist who joined a cult? She'd spent years treating patients with delusional thinking, spotting manipulative patterns with clinical precision. She understood the psychology of cults better than almost anyone. And then she joined one. It took her a year and a half before something finally snapped. She watched the leader humiliate someone for asking a simple question, and suddenly the manipulation she had rationalized for months became just that, manipulation. The hardest part, she said, wasn't leaving. It was accepting it had happened to her in the first place. This story isn't a fluke. It's a pattern. And understanding why this happens, why the smartest people are unprotected from manipulation and are sometimes even more vulnerable to it, is one of the most urgent questions of our time. We all carry this cozy assumption that the smarter you are, the better you are at spotting a lie. It sounds right, but it's wrong. In 2013, psychologist Keith Stanovich looked into the link between IQ and what he called misguided bias. That's our tendency to favor arguments that support what we already believe. What he found was shocking. Study after study showed that people with high IQs reason in the exact same biased way as everyone else. There was no connection between intelligence and the ability to think objectively about your own beliefs. Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman explains this with his two systems model of the mind. System 1 is fast, intuitive, and automatic. It makes snap judgments. System 2 is slow, deliberate, and analytical, the part you use for a math problem. We think smart people live in System 2, but Kahneman's research shows something uncomfortable. System 2 isn't a truth-seeking machine. It's often a rationalization machine. It doesn't challenge what your gut already decided. It just builds a more sophisticated argument for it. This means a highly intelligent person doesn't use their brain power to question their own beliefs more rigorously. They use it to defend those beliefs more effectively, even against facts that should change their mind. Researchers call this the backfire effect. When you're shown evidence that contradicts a deep-seated belief, it doesn't weaken the belief. It strengthens it. Your mind sees the challenge as a threat, and your analytical brain goes into defense mode, not truth-seeking mode. The smarter you are, the more elaborate the defense. And this is exactly where manipulators come in. The architecture of modern persuasion wasn't built by people who misunderstood psychology. It was built by people who understood it perfectly and used that knowledge with precision. Back in 1977, psychologists discovered something called the illusory truth effect. The more you hear a statement, any statement, the more likely you are to believe it's true. It's not about evidence. It's about familiarity. Your brain processes familiar information faster and mistakes that ease for accuracy. What's truly alarming is that this effect works even when you know something is false. A 2015 study confirmed this. When people were repeatedly told things they knew were wrong, a significant number started to shift their beliefs. The feeling of familiarity can actually override facts you already know. Think about the implications for your social media feed or the news you watch. Every time a false claim is repeated, it doesn't just spread, it literally becomes more believable. To your brain, repetition and truth are neurologically indistinguishable, regardless of your IQ. Now, let's add another layer. At our core, we aren't truth-seeking creatures. We're belief-preserving creatures. We spend incredible energy seeking consistency, looking for confirmation that what we already think is right. This is confirmation bias, and it's like an invisible filter in your mind, constantly highlighting information that supports your views and ignoring everything that doesn't. Yale professor Dan Kahan found that our cultural identity, our group, predicts our beliefs on factual issues far better than our education or reasoning skills. And the smarter and more educated you are, the better you get at twisting evidence to fit your group's conclusions. Your analytical tools aren't serving truth. They're serving your tribe, your sense of belonging. This is what every sophisticated manipulator targets, not your ignorance. They target your values, your identity, and your need to be consistent with the person you believe you are. Contrary to popular belief, members of the most infamous cults weren't uneducated or gullible. Studies show they were often better educated than the general public. NXIVM recruited Emmy-winning actresses and corporate executives. The Om Shirikyo cult in Japan, responsible for the Tokyo subway attacks, had scientists with advanced degrees. The People's Temple drew in social workers and dedicated activists, people driven by the noble desire to fight racism and help others. They weren't tricked, they were targeted, specifically because their intelligence and idealism made them useful. Once their analytical minds were redirected to defend the group, they became the manipulator's greatest asset. As cult expert Stephen Hassan notes, intelligent people often fall harder because they build more elaborate and defensible rationalizations for their involvement. So what does this have to do with you? Everything. These psychological vulnerabilities aren't exceptions. They are the baseline operating conditions of the human mind. You're subject to the illusory truth effect every time you scroll your feed. You re-subject to confirmation bias every time you watch news curated by an algorithm that knows exactly what you want to hear. And your intelligence doesn't protect you. What it predicts is something much simpler: the sophistication of your rationalizations, the ability to build a more persuasive case for what you already believe. Even Daniel Kahneman, after a lifetime studying cognitive bias, admitted he wasn't immune. He said understanding the biases doesn't make them go away. They are structural features of how we think. The most effective manipulation in history doesn't target our weaknesses. It targets our strengths. It finds what you care about most: justice, community, security, identity, and it builds its world around that value. It speaks your language, confirms your fears, and flatters your intelligence. It shows you a version of yourself that makes their conclusion feel like it was yours all along. This isn't a comforting thought, but it's a necessary one. The only defense isn't more intelligence or more information. It's a special kind of humility. It's the willingness to ask not just if an argument makes sense, but who benefits from you believing it. Not just if a belief feels true, but how it came to feel that way. And not just whether you're smart enough to spot manipulation, but whether your intelligence is the very tool being used against you. The psychiatrist who joined a cult didn't escape because she was smart. She escaped because a single moment of reality broke through her elaborate justifications. One moment of direct perception. That's what real awareness looks like. It's not a perfect shield. It's a pause, a fracture in the fluent story you've been telling yourself. And sometimes that's enough. Thanks for watching.